Welcome to Moments with Marianne. This is your host, Marianne Pastana. We're here today with special guest, Judy Goodman, who's here to share with us the power of our words. So what if every word you spoke carried the power to change your life? Would you change the language that you use? I think that's a very good question. Well, today's guest is here to share with us just that. Internationally recognized, Judy Goodman may possibly be one of the most gifted teachers and motivational speakers today. She's an author, certified professional coach, certified relationship counselor, addiction recovery coach, motivational speaker, works in grief support, and is a hypnotherapist. Her award-winning audiobook, Journey: The Quest of the Soul, has been downloaded in 23 countries. Judy was born with the gift of seeing beyond the ordinary view of most people. She works and teaches beyond conventional wisdom. Her access to the workings of the physical world and the other side is absolutely amazing. She works and teaches without limits usually associated with the most talented, a go-to person for many people. She may be without peer in her experience of the events and workings of the physical and spiritual realms. This extraordinary combination of gifts is very unique. So it's my great honor to introduce Judy Goodman.
Hi, Marianne. It's so good to be back with you again. Hope this finds all of your listeners doing extremely well.
Well, what a great honor it is to have you here and just to talk about this topic. And I know it's something that, we've been pretty dear friends for a long time. And it's something that you talk about quite a bit is the power of our words. Why is this so important?
That's such a good question, Marianne. I'm glad you ask it just that way. It's so funny, but, we are infinitely stronger and more powerful than we know that we are. And our words are the strongest thing that we have to work with, whether we are praying, meditating, trying to hurt or harm or love or care or nurture. It all comes back down to the words that we use and how it affects people, and ultimately how that energy can come back to us. See, our words, Marianne, are pure energy. The universe is made of nothing but energy. We are energy. Flowers, trees, everything is energy. And so it is so important that we understand that. If we were already on the other side of our life, if we think something, we create it. Thinking is creating. And so here in the reality that we're living in today, thinking can be, let's use the right word, manifesting. But it comes with a little bit of a guideline to help people understand the right way to do this. In other words, if we're thinking in today's terms about, I want a new car, it's highly inappropriate and highly ineffective if we just say, I want a new car, and then we expect it to show up in our driveway. The way we should approach this in our prayer or meditation is to say something that exhibits humility and then gratitude. Now, another reason why I'm going about this way, Marianne, is that every single one of us listening today, we all have angels and guardians around us. The angels that are there, they're your birth angels. They've been there. Excuse me, the energy is so strong. You know how it goes with me when things start ramping up, that energy gets so much stronger. When we are born, we have an angel that comes in that walks with us for the length of our life. And they're there to guard, protect, and to help protect and oversee the things that are going on in our lives. And they are there to help initiate things that we are needing or wanting. Our life is free will. In other words, we're not puppets. No one is holding a string over us saying, you'll do this, you'll do that. Everything in our life is about choice. You know, anger is a choice. And I'm sure we all know someone who has been hurt or harmed, and they continue to carry that energy way too long. But the truth is, that's a choice that they're making. And so when we're thinking about the angel, your birth angels, your guardian angels being around you, and choice being the master control that you're in charge of, is that the angels are there to help you, but what's necessary is for you to let it be known what you want or what you need. Another way that I like to explain this, Marianne, is that the universe is there to supply everything that our life needs and requires. But until we can actually write it down, well, let's use that as an example. Until we can write it down on paper to clearly say, that is what I need, that is what's necessary in my home or my life. And, you know, we can do this by, let's say, writing 6 things down. Well, the universe, your guardians, your angel, your birth angel is paying attention to that. And when you ask, when you are clear, when you've made up your mind and you're very clear, then they can say, well, okay, I've been waiting for you to make a decision so that we can help you. We're here to help you, but we can't do it for you until you are clear. And let's say you use the example I had in the beginning, I want a new car. I need a new car. A new car doesn't necessarily mean a brand new off the lot car. It can be newer than what you're driving right now, but perhaps a little bit more humble way to say this is that need to have a car that is newer than what I'm getting, but a car that's in good condition. And don't specify the model or the years, because the universe may actually be able to bring you something better than what you were asking for. Just say a vehicle, a car that will be safe and effective transportation, that kind of thing. Same thing goes back to how many of us are wanting a new companion in our life or something, you know, a partner or someone. It becomes very challenging when you say, I want someone tall, dark, and handsome, or muscular, or dark brown, or black eyes, or blue eyes, or from the Caribbean, or whatever. The best thing to do when you're asking for that kind of thing from the universe, as you know and understand it, is to say, I am asking that the perfect partner for me be brought forth into my life and into my reality. So don't specify, because chances are 90% of the time, if you can say that with humility, and always say, when we say these things, Marianne, we always want to say, and I'm asking for the perfect partner to be brought into my life. And for that, here's the key phrase, I am very humble and very grateful for that. So be humble when we request, and then be grateful with whatever it is we're asking for. Words are power. Words are power. They create, they manifest. Now, let me give you an interesting little example here of how your mind, body, spirit works together. You may not have thought about it this way, but I think this describes it extremely well. Mind, body, spirit is very much like a computer. Your body can only play out the data that you put into it. In other words, when you wake up today and you say, golly, I feel so bad, body says, okay, feel bad. And it doesn't have to do anything, because you've been saying that for days and you have made the choice. Again, remember we said everything about life is a choice. And so when you choose to get up and to continue to lament how bad you feel, the body cannot do anything but fulfill that directive. On the other hand, another way to look at this would be to say, I'm feeling better than I have felt in a long time. the body says, well, that's new data. Stop, record. And now it says, okay, guys, we got to crank it up today because we're going to be feeling better. And I know that's a little funny way to describe it, but it's a good way to help you understand that the information that you put into your thought process is what's going to come out in your life. A lot of us are challenged health-wise, and we feel bad. We feel tired. And I know that when you're speaking to a friend, or maybe you're even in a counseling session and you're speaking to your therapist and you're saying, well, I'm tired and I'm angry and I'm this and I'm that. Okay, in a session at a time like that, it's good to say your truth. But then understand that that too has gone into your database, and that is what will continue to play and create the actions and the things that are coming into your life. So have the awareness that speak your truth when you must to the appropriate person, not your friend who's going to gossip and get involved in the language with you and somehow just stretch it out until your whole conversation is about how bad you feel, how bad she feels, or whatever. So speak it to your therapist or your friend or whomever is a good, safe place to be talking. And then overwrite that by saying, while that is my truth, today I am going to feel better than I have in a long time. Or my mind is sharper and clearer. And wow, I'm giving my body permission to lose weight in a healthy way. Isn't that an interesting thought? You didn't know you could do that, did you? Well, you can, because that's also data that you're programming into your mind, body, spirit, which is like a computer. And if you really stop and think about it, it helps you to begin to understand just how strong, how powerful you really are. Another thing, I want to caution you about the words having so much power and so much energy. Now, when we meditate and when we pray, or if we're having a quiet moment, music is an extremely important thing for us in our lives. And a lot of us like to have music playing gently as we're going to sleep. Some of us want music when we are meditating or exercising or whatever. Well, if you're exercising, it's okay. The words that are in the music won't matter near as much. But the point that I want to make here is this. If you're going to sleep or if you're in meditation, the music that you play should not have words in the music. And again, we go back to this thing, words are energy, and whatever those words are saying is creating a level of energy that may or may not be the best thing for you to be listening to. And if we think about, there's all kinds of music, every kind you can think of, a lot of pop, a lot of different things today. And some of the music has got very, let's say very bad, very challenging languaging, where it speaks of the anger of a generation of young people sometimes to speak these words. But again, those are the same words that have energy, and that energy, if you are continuing to listen to it, that is coming into your mind, body, spirit, and it is programming. So always be careful about the music that you're listening to, selective of the words that it uses, because it is giving a message of some sort. So again, here's another interesting thing, Marianne. I bet you didn't know this one, but there are 7 sacred tones. 7 sacred tones in music. These sacred tones are the keys to the universe, the keys to all things. And when you can find music, and music has been something that I have loved since I was born. I've always wanted music around me because I'm accustomed to hearing the tones. If I'm doing out-of-body work, then the sky, the universe, the planets, the stars, as they vibrate, as they twinkle, they all have, every vibration creates an energy. Every energy will create a color, and that color will create a tone. So there's, as I say, sometimes there's music of the spheres, which is music of the universe around us. I saw something recently where someone has created a little device that you can clip onto a leaf, and it's got a little speaker where you can actually hear the music that's coming from that leaf. And that's what the vibration, the color, the vibration, the tone, those are part of the tones of the universe. And anytime you can get music that doesn't have the words, remember the power of the words being used. If we can't control it, we don't want to use it in our quiet moments. But all of the sacred tones, they do show up in a lot of, we used to call it New Age music. I don't know, Marianne, I'm not real sure what we're calling it today, but another way to describe it is music without words that just flows. It goes up and down, up and down. It's very gentle, very kind, and it won't have words in it. So anyway, use your good judgment, and if you're not sure about what's the right kind of music, just listen to some and see which one makes you feel better. And if you get lucky enough to find music that's got sacred tones in it, then that will resonate with your body in an entirely different way. It's good for you to talk about things that make you sad, the things that make you angry, or it's good to talk about it. It's good to use our words to get that out of our system. Do you know, here's another good phrase, unresolved issues. And this is like, if you have been angry, if you were perhaps abused as a child, or you've got trauma, some of us will have generation situations that we're bringing forward and trying to work with. But if you have those kind of things, if you will start talking about it, and again, if you can get a good therapist, do that. If you've got a good friend that will protect your privacy, that's okay. Or journal it, just journal, put your words down. But when we speak about the things that are locked up inside of us and we get that out, that's what we call an act of transference. And we begin to take that pain that's associated with those words or those memories, and we diffuse it or we minimalize it. But on the other hand, if we are not able to speak about it or journal, and writing it down will be very, very effective. I know a lot of people use journaling as a good tool of getting things out. So don't be hesitant or be afraid to use that. But there are many things that will happen just by getting that out of your system, out into what I call the ethers or the clear air. Well, the downside of that is that when we have those kind of words locked into our system, into our memory, it's going to lead us into what I call unresolved issues. In other words, if you were abused, or if you're in generational carryover that you're working through, if there are really hard memories there that you have not been able to deal with them, then you're going to bury them down inside of your mind, body, spirit. The memories will get heavier, and after a while, you'll start burying them. And as a rule, when these unresolved issues get buried, the word, the strength of all of that, when they become unresolved and continue to be, then they will go to the weakest part of your body, and it'll stay there until you get into therapy, handle it, or until you journal it and get that up. And Marianne, here's another interesting thing, is that when we decide to get on our journey to health and well-being, we have to control our words better. We have to control our thoughts better. But we must also remember that the words that we say, when we speak these things to people, a child perhaps, if you ever said something to a child like, "You're so stupid," do you know that that child will rise to your level of expectation? And as we're using our words and the power of our words, when we're speaking them and saying them to people, when we are directing that out to another person, that person is going to rise to that level of expectation. If you're with a partner and they are demeaning you or belittling you, then it starts holding you back emotionally, physically. All of these things within you start dying off in a different sort of way. So the words you speak have such power that you can change the way a person is living or looking. If you praise them, then again, they will rise to that level of expectation. Your thoughts, your actions, your deeds are so, so important. Even though the thought is there, it's the word that you haven't spoken yet, but it's a thought and it's ready to be there. But every thought, every action, and every deed is actually a form of communication with the God of your understanding. And if by chance you don't believe, well, then this statement may not make a lot of difference to you, but even so, it will be a measure of who you are one day when you least expect it on the other side. But whatever the God of your understanding is, well, let's say, for example, you're driving down the road and someone cuts you off and you get angry and you're thinking about giving them the friendly wave that's not quite so friendly, then you're communicating that to the God of your understanding or your angels that are around you. So be careful. Again, it's a choice. Every thought, every action, every deed is a communication with the God of your understanding. Kind of a sobering thought when you think about it. So anyway, be careful about the words, especially when we're working with children or people that are a little bit less privileged than we are, that may be Down syndrome or whatever. Always be kind, be gentle. You know, again, the words that you speak have an energy, and they go out, they take action. Here's another side of that you may not have thought about yet, is that whatever that action is that you create, and this is the laws of the universe, this happens automatically without us thinking about it. It will multiply 7 times, and it will come back to us. Everything you send out in your words will multiply 7 times and come back to you. So that's another reason to use better, kinder words. Okay, well, here's another way to look. And words, golly, I have such a passion about this these days, because more and more I'm hearing anger and division and things that are very hurtful, very harmful. We are in such an uncertain time, and we want to be careful. It's okay to disagree with people, but how we disagree is what we need to be very mindful of. So always be careful about the words that you're using. It's okay to disagree. It's how we disagree, though, that will create the problems that we will have. Remember that the words that you speak create the path that you walk on. The words that you speak create the path that you walk on. If you're speaking in harshness, then the stones that you walk on, the path that you walk on, will be rough and challenging, and you will be inviting many painful things into your life. If your words are kinder, smoother, more gentle, then the path will be less rough, more friendly. But it will also, the words that you're speaking will create the reality that you're going to be living in. So if you're thinking about being unkind to other people, you're creating a reality that will be very hard for you to live in. So think about that.
I find it so fascinating that the words that we use create everything around us. So how do
No,
we?
isn't that amazing? Isn't that absolutely amazing?
Mm-hmm. And so let's say we're growing, expanding, and evolving. How do we find better words where maybe we're just used to words that we've been stuck with from maybe learned behavior?
You raise an extremely good point, Marianne. A lot of the things that we say, some of it is learned behavior. We may have heard a parent say things in that manner. or a teacher or someone that was older than us or in a position of leadership or authority, and we hear them speak that way. So we take it in and we feel like that may be what is right and what is real. But evaluate the words that you're hearing, and if the words don't feel right, then there's a good chance that it's not right, and try to say it another way. In fact, sometimes when I'm talking to people that I'm working with, I'll let them say everything they've got to say, and then I'll say, okay, say that to me another way. And that's their signal. They say, oh, she's testing me now. And that's what we have to do with ourselves, is listen to what we're saying. And if we are saying, I don't feel good today, I really don't feel good at all, might be a truthful, honest statement, but listen to what you're saying. Remember that you're programming that into your mind, body, spirit, and your body can only conform to what you're saying. So when I ask a person, say it to me another way, oh, I see what you're saying, Judy. Okay, I am feeling better every moment today. And I'll say, well, that's good. That's much, much better. At least you're giving your body a chance to start thinking and feeling better. So it's a good way to go. But that was a very good point that you raised. And what if you were to say, or maybe a child in your life would say, I'm just not smart enough. And that's pretty common, more than we think, because there's so many kids today that are being bullied or being singled out for one reason or another. And sometimes they're being made to feel less than whatever they are or all that they can be. And so the child will say to someone, perhaps teacher, perhaps more than likely come home and say it to the mother, I'm really not smart. And so again, their little mind, body, spirit hears that and says, okay, we don't have to do very much. We're not smart. So a loving, understanding parent or teacher or whomever is around with that child will say, oh my goodness, are you kidding me? You're one of the smartest people I know. Look how well you did that. Look how well you dressed today. Look how well you washed your face, or you find something that you can compliment them on and bring them up. But again, the words that we speak, words have power, words have energy, and the words we speak will change their life, or we will be part of continuing to bring that child down.
Well, then, if we're talking that way and we're being very careful on how we address children, people who are special and the elderly, and our friends and people we come across, what does that mean then in how we communicate with ourselves?
Well, again, a thought that I can hitchhike on with that, Marianne, would be to say, I personally, we will never rise to the top of our game at the expense of others. And so if we are the one that have spoken something about inadequate or inefficiency, insufficiency, if we have spoken that to another person, we're not going to get any higher up than we are, because we will never rise to the top of our game if we think we're going to do it at the expense of others. You know, always be generous, be kind with your words, with your actions, your deeds. Sometimes we don't know what to say, but kindness goes a long way. Sometimes just being quiet and listening and acting as if you really do understand. Sometimes when you don't know the right words to say nothing, but always be generous, be kind with your words and your gifts. Now, a gift is not always something that's wrapped in a package. A gift can be a smile or a hug, if that's appropriate, or saying, how can I help you? What can I do to be of help to you today? So always be generous and be kind. Remember when I said that the energy that we put out multiplies 7 times and comes back? Well, don't do it because that's what you're looking for, because those kind of gifts would be short-circuited. So everything you give out and be kind, when you're being kind and you're doing it from the best place within your heart, all of that is what gets multiplied and which comes back. What you give away, give from the heart. it will be multiplied, and it will return to you. All right, let's go back to each of us individually. A good way to get started in the right way. How to begin your day. Okay, let's say that we've had a rough night's sleep or a good night's sleep, whatever, but we just awakened. What is one of the best ways to begin our day in a way that we can sort of hitchhike on something that will help to create that override of that mind, body, spirit computer? How can we sort of reinforce that to help us have a better day? All right, here's a good way to do it. You may have heard this, you may not have heard it. Begin your day, if you can, before you get up and go to the bathroom. If you can't do it, and I know I sometimes can't do it that way, if that's the way it is, get back in bed, lie there for just a little bit, relax, take a few deep breaths, and begin your day with 7 statements of gratitude. Now think about it. I've had people actually say, well, I don't have 7 things to be grateful about. I'm thinking, are you really kidding me? Here's something. If you can't think of anything else, how about I am grateful for the warm bed that I'm sleeping in. Maybe it's not the bed that you wanted, but if it's warm and if it's clean and comfortable, that's really something to be grateful for. How about if you say, I am so grateful for the level of good health that my body is enjoying. Another good thing. And maybe you do have a better car. Maybe you've already gotten that. Maybe you manifested that. Then I would say, I am so grateful for the new car, the better car that sits in my driveway and that is dependable and safe for me and my family to drive and to use. But every time you say things about these, have 7 things that you're grateful for. But now here's a little secret about this one, Marianne, that some people don't realize. We can also turn this around into where our words are going to be used in a way that we are going to be manifesting. Okay, let's say that we are in a home that's not completely satisfactory, maybe not even really safe, and we want to be grateful. That we want that to be one of our 7 statements of gratitude in the morning, and add that little manifesting touch to it. A way that we could do that is to say, I am so grateful for the better home that is manifesting and coming to me in the near future. And see, I put on there in the near future because sometimes on the other side, to those that are listening to us out there, time does not exist on the other side. And sometimes it feels like they don't know when the bills are due or just how bad the problem is. So it's kind of safe to put a little thing in there that says in the near future, which means speed it up a little bit if you can. So begin your day with 7 statements of gratitude. And then at the end of the day, end your day with 7 statements of gratitude. It is, again, possible that statement of gratitude can be one of the things that you've been working on. Some of us are wanting to go back to school, and one of your 7 statements of gratitude is that I am so grateful for the opportunity to get back in school that is working its way to me in the nearest possible future. So that's being grateful for something, and yet you're giving the universe the opportunity to manifest it for you. But begin and end your day with 7 statements of gratitude, and you'll find that things will start turning around for you right away. Everything in your life is about the choice you made. We've already talked about that. So if you're angry, you've made a choice to be angry. And if you're continuing to walk in bad health, sometimes it's not like we're choosing to walk in bad health, but because we're maybe not taking care of ourselves, or we're not languaging in a way that will give our body permission to start being better. So one of the things, if I was dealing with a health situation, then one of my gratitude statements might be, I am so grateful for the good health that my body is enjoying every day. Find the words that will express something that you're truly grateful for, or something that you're working on manifesting. Again, it's your words. It's your words, my friends. Listen, it is the most powerful thing that you have going on in your body. Just your words alone create. They can cut and slice emotionally, or they can create, they can show love, they can show all the opposites of all of those things, but it's the most powerful thing that you can possibly imagine. It isn't easy to make changes. I know that. It can be very, very hard, very challenging, and sometimes it feels like we're coming up against a brick wall. But if you do nothing, then nothing will change. But again, if you say things, if you start changing your words, or if you start being in gratitude for things that you're needing or requesting, you can change things if you choose to do so. Again, it's choice. Learned behavior. Let's talk a little bit about that, because we mentioned that a little bit earlier, where we were talking about things that we say, things that we do, are patterns or habits that we have picked up from people around us, and we just repeat it. And when some of your learned behavior is not working for you, that's the thing. You've got to start listening to what you're saying, and you've got to start changing those words. Remember when I said earlier I would speak to the person I was working with and I would say that to me again, which was their signal to, change my words. Okay, then they would change it and say it in a different way. We move things around. We change things every day by the words that we speak. Now, how are you moving them? How are you changing them? Again, it's choice. It's up to you. Change your habits. Change your patterns. Do a small thing at first. Don't take on the world. Just pick something small. Give your mind, body, spirit an opportunity. Remember that I was talking about the angels that are around you. I know that I get a question like this all the time. Somebody will say, well, what is my angel's name? Okay, here's a little hint. Probably about 90% of the birth angels that are around us don't really have a name. They don't require a name. Now, if you've been working with them and you've been fortunate enough to find out what a name is that they go by, then that's one thing. But if you don't, it's okay to pick a name that you really like and start talking to them and saying, thank you for being around me. I'm going to be making a trip this weekend. Please guard and protect me, guard and protect my vehicle. And that gives the angel the authority to move things and do things in an entirely different way. But remember what I said earlier is that we are not puppets, and everything in our life is about free will. And so the universe cannot do a lot of things because we will not decide what we want. Another thing is we've talked about beginning and end your day in gratitude. Well, why not sit down sometime today and talk about, 6 things. And if you can't do 6, then do 3. And write down something that you really need or you really want. In other words, when you can write it down and you're clear and you understand it, then the universe has something to work on. So make some decisions. Oh, here's a big one. Let's not end our time together today, Marianne, without talking about forgiveness. Wow, we all go through life with things that we must forgive. Things have hurt us. Sometimes if we're in generational work means that this is more than likely things that have been going on in your family for generations, things that your mother and daddy did in your presence or to you. So it was another generation, and you decided before you were born that you wanted to come down and stop these things and change them and turn them around. So there's always something that hurts. I mean, there's not a day that goes by that something will not come up that will hurt or pain or disappoint us. So learn to forgive. Understand, my friends, that when you forgive, that does not condone what was done to you. When you forgive, that is for you. It is not for the other person. And it doesn't make it go away, but what it does is it keeps that situation from controlling you. I want to give you another powerful statement, and just remember this and try to learn how to say this with humility and with gratitude. The statement is, I am. I am. Okay, how do I use that though? I am healthy. The things you speak, the words you put in that creates the energy that goes into the universe, that goes all through your body, everything about you, your mind, body, spirit's going to take the new information in. I am, and the next things you say, it's a new commandment that you're giving your system to start fulfilling. I am healthy. I am happy. I am whole. I am a fantastic person. I am good. I am kind. I am a writer, and I'm in the process of writing a book. But remember the phrase, I am, and pick the words, pick the things that you want to create, because that is one of the most powerful statements that you can make about yourself. Always remember, music is a wonderful, wonderful thing to have around. Pay attention to it, because it too creates a vibration. If the words are being spoken in it, then whatever the words are that's in the music, each word creates another kind of energy. And there's a lot of our music today that doesn't generate the energy that will be beneficial for us. So just always listen to the words, okay? Everything you speak or say creates a wave of energy that goes out to everything or everyone around you. Words are powerful. They create, they can devastate, they can destroy. Use your words. Use your words to create. Remember, as I said on the other side, what we speak, we create. And here, what we speak, we create, but it's different in that that's the beginning of manifesting things that we want in our life. The most important thing that you've got going on in your life is your words, the ability to use your words to rebuild your life, to forgive, to love. The most powerful thing that you have going on. There is nothing any stronger or any better that I can talk to you about today. Marianne, that's a lot that we have unloaded on our friends today, and it's a lot to think about. But again, know that your words have power and strength and energy, and use them wisely. Use them to change problems that you may have created, errors that you've made. Use them to create, to restore. Use them to change your life, because your words can begin the process of changing your life as quick as if you start changing your habits and doing things differently. It's the beginning of the process of change. Use your words wisely. It's the best gift that the God of your understanding has given you.
What a beautiful note to end on, Judy. I mean, my goodness, you're such a resource for not just top leaders. I know you've worked with so many top leaders, but also just people who are looking to make massive shifts in their life. Where can people connect with you and be part of your community and learn more about your work?
Well, I'm always available. Thank you for asking that, Marianne. I forget to say things like that. Sometimes I get so caught up in what I'm talking about. But I do have a website, judygoodman.com. Really, really easy. On that, you'll find email address, and I love to answer emails. But if there is something that I've spoken to you about today that you don't understand, if you disagree, that's okay. Let's talk about it and give me another view, another way to think about it. But send me an email. I love to answer those emails, but reach out. I'll be more than happy to work with you on whatever's going on.
Well, Judy, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
Oh, it's absolutely been my pleasure. One of my favorite places, I've been on so many radio shows and whatever, but you're absolutely one of the best. Thank you, Marianne, for including me in your day.
Well, thank you, Judy. It's been such an honor to spend this time with you and to talk about the power of our words. Make sure to visit Judy's website at judygoodman.com to book your private appointment, learn more about her award-winning audiobook, Journey the Quest of the Soul, and to be part of her community. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. You've been listening to Moments with Marianne, where we make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary. A recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.